Hello, everyone. We're having a good chuckle over here because this is version 2. A couple days ago, Barb and I got together and we recorded this great thing, or so we thought, until I went to press end recording and it was the record button. So, yeah, no.
Yes, we had quite the giggle over that. Well, at least I did. Um, yeah, welcome back, folks. If you haven't seen our video the last time, it was quite a show to say the very least. We did say in that one that I can talk a day to a dead man, and I think an hour and a half of me just talking nonstop pretty much proved that point. But anyway, I am Tammy's sister Barb, and I'm the cross stitcher in the family. Tammy is the quilter, the sewer. She does all the other fun things. And we're here to do our ScandiTree stitch along. So cross stitch, yay. Tammy's finally putting needle and thread to a different fabric choice. So different medium now. So what are your thoughts so far, Tammy?
It's been good. So I'll just hold up my progress here, although later I'll share it differently. So that's how far I've gotten.
Oh, that's
So you'll
awesome.
see I do have some white done now on my candles over here. Barb walked me through that, and we thought we were sharing that with you. So we will get to that today. No worries. You will have an opportunity to stitch your white threads. But yeah, it's been a lot easier than I thought it was going to be, and not as time consuming. That sewing method you showed, where I'm always on the top side, was really, really effective. There's been a couple times where I'm chicken pecking because the dark green just jumps, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get lost of where these little holes are. Um, but seeing that, we have had a few questions come through, so maybe we should jump into those because I know people are
Sure,
ready for
let's do
answers.
that. Do
So
you
the
want to
first question
unzoom me, Tammy? Because
like that.
thank you. There, it's a bit easier. Yeah, fantastic. Now I can read a little bit better with these bifocals.
Oh, okay. So it
Yeah.
says, okay, I've got my grid. How am I counting this?
How am I counting my grid? So, excuse me. Let me cover up
So
my
they've
progress or
got
my
their grid. So I
pattern
think they
here.
figured out that they're going by 10 holes to figure out the grid, right? But now
Yes.
how are they choosing where a stitch goes and without giving up the whole pattern? Now I've
Sure.
actually
So I'm just going to show you, this is my working copy of my pattern, and you're going to see my stitchy bag that I'm using. It's just a pencil case that I got lots of years ago, and it fits all my things. So, and how do I figure out a camera? Sorry.
do you want me to hold my
Can you
pattern
see
up
that, or
and
is
then
it
you
too
can talk
shady?
to it? Oh,
Sure. So at the bottom, you can see um, there's those darker lines. So they're in every grid or every square is a 10 by 10. So there's squares within that. And then you'll see the pattern itself. Like I think there's some W's there, right? So you're going to count over, looks like 5, and then start working those white stitches. So you're going to go where you've gridded out your fabric and all your blue. I know Aunt Debbie's using a heat marker, something it's called. I think that's mainly for quilting or stitch or sewing, where she can just iron off the marks that
mm,
she has. But you're just going to
mhm.
follow along. So count out from your one line 5 stitches to start doing your white ones and then count up and work that way. Does that make
Oh,
sense?
it does. Now, the one thing I'm going to say with using any sort of erasable marker is always test it.
Hmm.
So if you haven't tried that marker in that fabric, I would test it in a small corner before you go and do your whole grid.
Oh, perfect. Good idea.
Because even
She
some of these
didn't.
great products, sometimes, things happen and they don't come out. And then we're scrambling at the end.
Yeah,
I think you were telling me at one point you used to use pencil.
I did. So I should have pulled my project, but 30 some odd years ago when I started stitching back in the day, we used masking tape, right? So you've kindly gone along and serged all of my edges of my fabric here.
On your
But
linen. I don't think we need to on the Ada. It's holding up
yeah,
pretty good.
it is pretty good. Even weave, though, really, really sheds quite a bit. So you
Mhm.
would really want to serge or hand stitch or do something on that. But anyway, we did. We used pencil, and I still have a project that's close to 30 years old that has pencil lines on it. So we'll see how that works when I go to wash it off. Yeah.
Another question we
Can
got
I
is,
stitch?
can I just stitch all
Go
of the
ahead.
brown to begin with?
Absolutely. It's your project. Like I said before, there's no cross stitch police here. Do as you see fit. I mean, I'm going to bounce around a little bit because that's what makes sense to me on my project. Um, I'll show you where I'm at right now. You can see how I'm about to bounce to catch. So when you look at your pattern, oops, let me get rid of this thread. So oh, let me figure out this camera. So
Looks so
that's where I
good.
am right now. Yeah, it's really coming along. Hey, wasn't quite sure how I was doing. I did have to switch my leaves. So oh gosh, I was doing those darker leaves, your dark green
Mhm.
leaves. I was doing those in a darker blue. I'm not doing that now. So all of my leaves are just going to be the one lighter shade of blue because they pop better than I found my dark leaves were competing with my tree trunk. So anyway, back to where I was in my statement there. You can see here, ugh, do I have a thread there maybe? Yeah. So you can see that I'm working those leaves there, and there is your star that you've done.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, this is super difficult. Sorry, folks, this is in reverse. Um, so I'm going to bounce down that way, and then there's another piece just above the tree. So just above the tree is where I'm going to start my next trunk. So
Oh,
yeah, like I'll bounce all over, but it doesn't matter if you want to do just the tree trunk and do all the trunks off and then come back and fill in. Have at her. Nobody's going to tell you any different.
okay. I accidentally broke a thread on my Ada cloth. What do I do?
Yeah. So did this actually happen to somebody, Tammy?
Yeah, it did. I think
Oh
she's
no.
resolved it because what happened was she realized she had stitched her tree from the center, not following
Okay.
the actual pattern where she was supposed to start the tree trunk. So
Okay.
then she took all of that out because she had other stitches there too, and things were going to overlap. And I
Yeah.
think as she was taking it out, she might have broken a thread. So for her, it worked out because something else ended up getting stitched over it.
Yeah. Where's my stitch? So I have a stitch ripper. Oh, here it is, hanging up. So as quilters, sewers, everybody has, I'm sure, one of these little things. As a cross stitcher, this is typically something we would never want to use on our project for fear of ripping our cloth. So we have super pointy, here we go. You can see that. Is that better for seeing?
Those are really pointy.
They're super pointy, hey? I have these fancy little, I don't know what they are, but anyway, Those, if you get under the first leg, you know, that one, your top stitch, if you get under the first leg, yeah, Tammy, those are perfect. If you get under that first leg and just snip it, you'll be able to, with your needle, pull those threads, and then you won't, not typically will you accidentally cut your cloth. Now, if she's repaired it, that's fantastic. In future, you can go under the back side of your, I don't think I can show you on linen, but where your threads where they go up and down and they go vertically and horizontally, you
Mhm.
can grab and create like a weave behind. So you're going to kind of take thread and just continually weave. It's going to be a little bit bulky, but it'll give you um, some substance to that fabric so that you're able to lay a stitch on top of it. Just don't pull it tight,
Okay.
if that makes sense. So you're going to weave horizontally and then you're going to weave vertically, kind of going in and out of those threads to create a space where you can put that stitch over.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I just realized you were doing this. Can I get a kit from you too? So I think I'll answer that one.
Hmm.
We do have a couple extra kits. I ordered some just in case something happened, maybe somebody can get their kit, or somebody decided last minute, my best friend's doing this, I want to do it with them. So we have a few. They're available online. We've put them back up now that we've got our order in, and everybody who asked for a kit got the kit. Um, Now, if we run out of those, Bothy Threads has been amazing at getting kits to us quickly. Like, there might be a bit of a slowdown with UPS at this time of year. I'm not going to deny it might take us like a whole week to get it, but you wouldn't be that far behind. And we still do have a couple kits we could sell now.
And I think we were cognizant of, we knew we would have a lot of beginner stitchers when we were starting this project, and we had
Mhm.
planned it out, right, each row at a time. And Tammy, as a very beginner stitcher, how did you feel your first week of stitching? Like, did you feel it was overwhelming and it was hard to keep caught up, or did you find that it was easy, you could easily keep up with it?
I think starting in the middle was good because I'm slower now than I probably will be by the end of this project.
Hmm.
And so it was a smaller piece that I was working with. Like, it wasn't that huge thing at the bottom that we originally going to start with. So good call there, Barb. So it was less overwhelming that way. And I think that was good. And I also like that we've got it chunked out. So this is my chunk for now. That's all I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about this whole big thing. Like any big project in my life, I like to just break it into, okay, what's the next step? I'll do that and then start to worry about the rest of it later.
Right? Smart goals, right?
Yeah.
We won't
So
get into that. We're not going business today.
no, we're not. No, we're not.
No. Okay.
Okay. So the next thing that came up is, how do we work with the white thread? What tips do I need to be successful with this?
Yes. So your white thread, or called blending filament, I think the last time we were on video, I had called it Krynic. That was very much an incorrect statement. It is definitely blending filament. I'm just going to pull out what it actually looks like. So it's Glisten Gloss Rainbow Blending Thread. You can get blending filaments from Krynic. And here's what it looks like. This is the one I'm using. So the biggest tip I can give you for blending filament is that you want to, I was prepared and had my pieces cut, but you want to work in very small pieces. So if you're used to, I think the threads folded in half are about 12 inches, aren't they, Tammy? Like if you
They're
pull the
about the
thread,
same length as the rest of the threads.
yeah, you'll want to cut those.
So
You're
yeah, I
definitely,
just pulled it off and I'm cutting it in half. Is that what I'm doing?
I would say, yeah, cut that in half. So here's my piece here. I'm not sure if you can see it. But you're going to grab, and I'm working in way shorter length than you folks. My fabric is like half of what like my squares are half of what yours are. So you want to take that thread and just tug it a little bit. Just strain it a little bit, not enough to break it, but just to put some tension on it. And I think that just, I don't know if it relaxes the whatever that thread is made out of. It just relaxes it so it's easier to work with and it's not going to wreak havoc. I can tell you that some of my stitchy girlfriends who have been stitching as long as me or longer, some people absolutely refuse to work with these kinds of threads. They just find them so difficult. The problem is we're creature of habit and we like things to work the way everything works, and it just doesn't. It's a different medium completely. So I'm just going to, and you've got yours shown there, Tammy. So in the last video I had showed you guys, and Tammy has really taken off with that sewing method. That's where you're sewing on top of your fabric. That's how I 90% of the time stitch. I'm always sewing on top, doing Tammy's working in the Danish method, which I found really interesting. And I typically do the English version of the sewing method.
So I'm
I'm not
just
going to
going to
get in.
jump in here for a second.
Yep.
I didn't know it was the Danish version.
No, you didn't.
I just
You
started
didn't.
doing it, and you're like, wait, of course you are, you're doing the Danish version.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, isn't that what you were doing? And you're like, no, I was going from a different direction.
Yeah. So the way
So,
I understand is the Danish version is you're going on top, right? You're working vertically. And sometimes I do that. It's not my comfort spot. My comfort spot is I'm working horizontally to get my stitches moving up and then back down again or across. So in saying that, I just found it very interesting that even though I had shown her the English version, she just instantly went to the Danish version because that was her comfort spot. Anyway,
okay.
let's get back into these white stitches. So you
So
are
I've
not
threaded.
you've
Oh,
threaded your needle.
yeah. You were about to say something though.
Yeah, so you're not, do not use um, the sewing method with this. You have to go up one hole, down the next, up one hole, down the next, right? You're going to be pulling that thread up and down. The reason being is it will snag, it's just, like I said, a bit of a difficult, I don't want to say difficult, I want to make it sound harder than it is because it's really not. You just have to, respect the fiber and do what it needs to do. Okay, so
Okay,
I can't,
so I need that longer than my tail.
yes.
And
So,
I would encourage everyone to try it, at least on like one little section. If you really hate working with the blending filament, you don't have to continue to, right? It's your
just
project.
cut it. Yeah. But it's not. You've already worked with it, Tammy. It's definitely different. Um, but there's not that much in here that it's going to be that much of a struggle. So I'm going to show you, um, I actually have a snag repair tool. I wonder if you can see it in this video.
Before
It's
you
just
jump
like
to that, though,
yep,
I want to say one
yep,
other thing.
yep.
So I've got my threads threaded here because we
Okay.
remembered to say this last time. So I've got
Mm,
my loop here, and then I've got my tail just hanging loose, right? And then I'm
mm-hmm.
starting from the back this time.
That's right. Good call. See, we've recorded this, so
So
now
she's
we don't even know what
right.
we've said or not said. But yes, definitely start from the back, and then that way, um, it's easier to tie that tail in at the back because you don't have your blending filament, that shiny piece of thread does not have a loop because you're using 2 white threads and 1 blending filament.
So I don't know if people can see this, but I'm putting my needle through the loop. And then at the same time, I'm making sure that I put the blending filament through the loop. That last little piece that was at the end before I pull
Yep.
it tight, right?
Yep. Or, I mean, some people maybe don't like the loop start. I don't know why, because it's super easy. But if you don't like that and you just want to feed your thread through the back underneath other stitches, you can do that as well. Just keeping it tight and making sure you hold it down.
Okay. So now I can
So
start stitching away.
that's right. Now I never start my threads in back. I always start mine up front, and I'll do like that pin method. I think I showed you that, but it was a bit difficult. You might see here, I don't know if you can see it, this little tail right here. So for me, what I do is I use that repair tool that I was just showing you. It's about, I think that's an inch. I don't know, inch and a half or something. And it has barbs on the one end, and then it has a sharp point on the other end. So the sharp point is going to go down through, and the barbs are going to catch my threads on top here. Sorry, let me just grab that. Trying to do this backwards, but it's, there we go. Okay. So I've got my needle where those, let me find it. It's here. Okay, so there's my loose thread. You can see it dangling here. So when I put the barb through, it's going to grab. Oh, this is difficult to show. So it's grabbed that thread and it's not there any longer. It's pulled it right through the back. And these little snag repair tools, I think you even have them in shop, Tammy.
Oh yeah,
They're
we do.
typical sewing. What is it called? Oh, a snag repair needle.
Clover snag repair needle. And
There
it's
you
a
go.
little package of 2, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I use them. So I don't use, like I said last time, I don't use needle minders on my fabric because I find they're heavy. They weigh down my fabric because I stitch in hand. So I have a whole collection um, all over my little stitchy spot. I probably have 30 of them here. And my snag nabbit or snag tool, scissors, all those things hang off of there. And we're in my home today because Tammy and I had, like we said, recorded this once before. And today is a medical day for me. I'm the lucky, at this age, right? Girls got to have to go do what we have to do. And I'm going to get squished. And so that's my lucky day. I just want to, not that I really need to put this out there, but I don't know. It's a new thing, and I just learned it from one of the discussions I had with the breast clinic, that when you're 40 in Ontario, you can book your own mammogram. You do not have to go through your doctor. So if you haven't had a mammogram, get it done. Anyway, that's my little plug for being a girl.
Breast cancer 6.
Yeah, you know what? Not only women get breast cancer now either. So
It's true.
yeah.
It's true. So yeah, I'm not minding this filament too much, and because you told me I couldn't, I had to try doing the sewing method with it.
Did you try?
I did.
How did that work for you?
It worked. It had like when I was pulling the filament out of the braided and I was like pulling on it and it had like this weird tension and like extra icky sound. As I was pulling it out, it was kind of like that. And I'm like, okay, maybe I don't really want to do this, but now I
Mm-hmm.
know. I, you tell me not to do something and I have to see what will happen, right?
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Usually
I was that child.
that's usually a middle child thing, but we'll give it to you. You can have it. Do we have any other questions?
Let me see here. Oh, I think we were talking. Oh, yeah, it was a question that came up. What about the back stitching? When should I do that? For example, the wick of the candles.
Yeah. So for myself, there's stitchers out there who love back stitching, and there's stitchers out there who absolutely despise it. I happen to be the one who despises back stitching. I don't know why, it's just one of those things. So, in saying that, I typically leave my back stitching till last, and that's probably why I have so many projects that are ready to get finished, but they just need the back stitching. So they sit in that pile of never gets done. Anyway, in saying that, I would suggest if there's a ton of bit back stitching in this project, which there really isn't, um, just do it at the end. Or if you would rather see that completion, finish it now. It's completely up to you. It doesn't really matter. The only piece that does matter in back stitching is that you make sure that all of your cross stitches, your full stitches, are completed before you're doing the back stitching, or it's just a waste of time doing it because they're going to get lost when you
Mhm.
add more stitches on top.
Okay. I thought there was white in the center of the star, and I'm like, wait, if that's the case, I'm not clipping this thread, but it's
Oh,
not.
so
I'm
remember
like,
I was
I
saying
know.
we were talking about, can I just leave my thread sitting at the back of my project? I was like, don't do that, put it up front. Well, I
Mhm.
decided I forgot I had thread. Where is it? Oh, I tidied it up now. Anyway, I forgot I had left thread hanging behind my project. Oy vey. What a disaster. Like it was all, you might be able to see some still. Uh, this way. Do you see
Okay.
that mess right
Yeah.
about, oh my, really struggling with how to, right here. It was all in here and then I got it all wrapped up in here. So I had to go and cut and otherwise because then it just keeps getting looped around and coming poking through the front.
Yeah.
And I
So
don't
how
like
are you
that.
finding the project on the blue linen? Is it too much blue?
Um, at f- I was I wasn't sure because it's hard to know until you start getting all the colors in and seeing how they work and meld together. So at
Mhm.
first I was like, "Ooh, I don't know if this was the right decision," and I almost pulled out all of my kit threads and stuff and decided to work from those. But now that I'm here, I'll just pull this out and move it forward. Um, now that I've got it, I actually really like it.
Okay.
Like I'm
Yeah.
really liking how everything's playing together. And I know, like I was looking at one of my Danish plates the other night because I have a lot of sparkly in this, and there's not a lot of sparkle on the plates. It's very um, muted, I guess, blues.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't sure what my thoughts would be on all the sparkly bits, but I think the project needs it, right? It needs, because I'm not, all of the treasures that came in the kit, again, I'm not using those. I'm going to tuck them away in my stash, and I'll use them somewhere else along the way.
Mhm.
So I need that sparkly throughout my project because I'm not going to be adding those things to my project.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, they're very different. It'll be interesting to see them all when they're all done for sure.
That makes
And to see
sense.
that, yeah, because I'm sure as people get comfortable with their stitching and whatnot, I'm sure there'll be lots of little differences along the way, just in how, how people stitch, how the legs of their crosses go, and right, some people stitch incredibly tight where others stitch loose, and yeah, so it'll be different.
Yeah, it will be interesting. We just finished up one of our quilting classes in store happy hour, and four of the women had purchased the same line of fabrics to use for their quilts.
Okay,
And so
yeah.
you would think all these quilts are going to be identical. No, they're not.
No,
It's really
because
cool to see the little variations and the differences that it's made.
yeah, yeah, I've decided. So the last time we chatted, we discussed me learning how to use my sewing machine. So I don't know if I told you this, Tammy. I took my sewing machine out.
Okay.
So I took the sewing machine out and I dusted off the cover, and it looks brand new. Um, pretty much because it is. It's never been used. I think our grandmother. So when my grandmother, or our grandmother passed 2 years ago now, I was given the sewing machine. So anyway, I never used it, and she didn't use it very often. And um, but my plan is to make one of those floor quilts, one of those round.
Jelly
That's
roll
gonna be my.
rug.
That's it. I call it a floor quilt. I like my terminology better, to be quite
You call it
honest.
whatever you want to call it.
Let's just have a funny moment here for a minute. So my brain very much calls things what they are. So if Jenny watches this video, she's going to laugh incredibly hard because we were discussing, I had made a mammogram, not a mammogram. Oh my goodness. My sister-in-law was having a hysterectomy, so I was making her a hysterectomy cake, and I was adding different things to it. And I couldn't remember the word for shaving. Um, Anyway, I called them a shaving stick. I still can't think of the right word. What is it?
I'm not going to give it to you.
Oh, that's difficult. Anyway, so I very much call things as what they are, right? A shaving stick, because that's what you use to shave your legs or shave your armpits or whatever. What is it called?
It's a razor.
Uh, uh, See, there you go.
But here's
So,
the funny thing, little Danish lesson for people. Um, Barb doesn't speak Danish at all.
not very
She can
well,
say hi and I love you and thank you for the food. And maybe you're
pretty
welcome.
much.
Um,
I can say
so
thank you.
yep,
Heck.
that's important. You have
Mm.
manners. Um, so Barb probably doesn't even realize this about Danish, but a lot of their words in the language are very literal. So an airplane, they don't have a word for airplane per se, they call it a flying machine. So a machine. Um,
See?
there isn't an individual word for Santa, although up to a certain point they only had Nissen, which were house elves. But Santa isn't Santa, it's Yuleman, it's Christmas man. So their words are very, very literal. So if you don't know the word in Danish, but you can kind of describe it in like a couple short words. You might actually have the word.
See, so I come by it honestly then.
You really do.
Perfect. Yeah, so anyway, I'd really like to make a floor quilt. And the other thing is, because I don't know the terminology, right? So
Mhm.
I was at my mother-in-law's house and I was explaining to her that I'd really like to make this floor quilt. And she's looking at me like I have 10 heads. And she said, "What do you mean?" And I said, you use those, buy those jolly rolls. And the look, I knew instantly that I had said the wrong word. So I now know it's a jelly roll, but I was calling it a jolly roll.
Well, depending on the company you buy it from, it's going to have a different name anyway.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, we tend to call them jelly rolls because the original company that came out with them called them that,
Oh,
or at least I think it was the original. Basically, it's a 2.5-inch strip cut the width of fabric.
so does it
So,
have like a different name? So is it just a 2.5-inch strip?
um, so I wonder if I can pull up.
It's kind of like, so it's then been branded, right? So when you think of a self-adhesive bandage, right? So we know everybody calls it a Band-Aid, but that is a brand. So is that what we've done now with these jelly rolls?
Pretty much.
Okay, interesting.
So if I pop over to the website and I go into here, so we're calling them pre-cuts. And we did call it jelly roll, but then we put in brackets 2.5-inch strips.
Oh,
Because if I
okay.
look, um, here, Patrick Loose Fabrics has called it a pinwheel. And
Oh,
Jason Yenter in the beginning called it a strip roll. So they haven't even called it a jelly roll. Although this one's
hmm.
fun because it's rainbow.
Yeah, I want to make one of those floor quilts for my girlfriend Manuela and Annette, who just got married. What a great story. Secret wedding. So much fun.
I wasn't sure at first when you said secret wedding. I'm like, wait, one of the people involved in getting married doesn't know what's happening?
Yeah, but if you knew these two,
Yeah.
like, yeah, such, oh my gosh, so good. It's not my story to tell, so I'm not going to get
Yeah.
into it, but
So we'll
I
move on.
just absolutely love it.
But honestly, you can call it whatever you want. You can call the store and not have the right name because they're used to me and they're used to you.
Yeah.
So we're not going to tease you if you're looking for something and don't actually know what it's called. You might
Oh,
get a puzzled look at first as we're like trying to process through what you might actually be referring to, but no judgment.
awesome. So what's our plan then? So let's talk about moving forward. So we're going to be using the hashtag ScandiTree SAL, right? On
Mhm.
our Instagram and whatever posts that we're doing. And then you and I are going to try and connect on a weekly basis to do if any questions come up, or maybe just sit and stitch together. Because that's the fun part, right? It's the community of like-minded people who are, working on something together.
Yep,
So would we ask if anybody else is interested? Maybe we could do all of us come together virtually and stitch.
that could be fun.
I think so.
So answer that question if you're watching this, whenever you're watching this. Is that something you would like to do live?
So I'm just going to, I guess we'll finish up by, I'll show the progress that I got today, just in the time we've been here. So you can see, this way. Got my house halfway done with the white.
Mhm. In the far
And I think
corner
I
there.
got yeah, and I think I got a couple of leaves done. So my First week is near complete. So the next time we revisit, I'll be done this row, and then I should be very close to, because when does week 2 start? Sunday, right? Or no,
Yeah.
last Sunday. This Sunday
No,
coming.
week 2 starts this Sunday. So
Okay,
this
perfect.
video will be posted Sunday at 8 p.m., which people know because they're now watching it live.
Okay.
So we could do it the following Sunday. The only thing is we have aerial hangouts at the Sewing Cafe on Sunday nights from 7 to 9.
That's fun.
It is fun. You know, we had some local girls that just wanted extra time to just practice and have fun and not be like in a structured classroom to be able to do it. But now that it's getting cold, the rig we have in our backyard just isn't going to suffice. So we need to bring
Hmm.
it indoors. And the ceiling heights are incredible at the store. So we're taking full advantage and using
Yeah,
the quilting classroom for that.
yeah, that's good. Tammy's daughter is very into the aerial silks,
Mhm,
and it does an incredible job.
mhm.
And
Although it's
tried to teach me once.
the best was my brother. He's like, "Oh, it can't be that hard, he's this big." And I don't
Yeah.
He's not bulky, he's like wiry, but he's like always been strong. And so he's got this concept that I can just do anything because I've got the strength. And he's watching this little 8-year-old fly up and down this thing like it's nothing. He's like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." So he starts to climb it just with his hands, not actually learning the technique, and got like halfway up. And then he's like, "I'm not going to fail at this." So he's like powering his way up, doesn't quite make it to the top, realizes this isn't going to work, and holds on to them and slides down. He burned his hands. Like, we call it silk burn, but it's like a rope burn with this smooth fabric. So it's quite the feeling on your hands. And then he had to go up and handle steel roofing for the next couple days. I think he actually wore gloves to work.
I think the funniest I ever watched was Heather. So one of my girlfriends.
Is she going to be okay with you sharing the story?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. She would absolutely be impressed. And I'm sure if she's watching this, she is dying right now, like just busting a gut. But she really wanted to try it. She's super adventurous, and Tammy's daughter was so excited to show her. And Heather was wearing a tank top, just a tank top and her shorts. And, when we get older, certain things head
True.
south. Heather was upside down on these silks, and everything, gravity was not working in her favor. And
No, no, it's better than that because she was so concerned that her shirt was untucked and her belly was starting to show. So she's like trying to tuck her shirt back in. And I'm like, "Heather, don't pull your shirt in that way. You need it closer to your face right now." She's like,
oh my
"What?" And then she's like, "Oh my gosh, my girls are out."
oh,
Oh,
so funny. So funny. We started the show talking about tatas and we're ending it talking about tatas. So there you
there
have
you
it,
go.
folks.
Can you please confirm with Heather before this goes live, though, just to be certain? Because I'm
Absolutely
not
will.
comfortable sharing somebody's funny without them being on board.
Absolutely. I'm sure she's going to check in and add more to the commentary, not to worry.
Yeah, so I hope you all have enjoyed this conversation. You never know where things are going to end up with Barb and I. Um, and yeah, please share your progress on social media. Use the hashtag. We'd love to see your projects coming along. There's something cool about seeing what's going on, and this is not a judgy space. If somebody starts leaving judgy comments on something I have control over, I'm just gonna delete them. Nobody has time for that.
You're so much nicer than me. I might be the aggressor in the family.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay. Well, I hope
Okay.
everyone has a great week and you're enjoying coming along for this progress. If there's more information on anything you need, you can leave a comment publicly. You can send us a DM if you don't want to be named publicly. I'm sure if you have the question, someone else might as well. So be the brave one. Put it out there so we can actually answer it for you all.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Toodles.